Hey, thank you so much for stopping by for another No BS social media chat. Sometimes you just have to, well, remember that not everybody is as advanced as you. And especially when we're talking to, well, just a camera. I don't necessarily know who's watching at any given time. I don't know what level of, well, social media understanding you have. I don't know how serious you are about building your fan base, friend base, follower base, whatever it is. Because I don't know how much you're worried about your personal brand. I don't know where you're at because, again, it's just me and a camera and some lights sitting here today. But the reason I do this today is well, it all comes from a conference call I had last week with some folks involved with YouTube. And we were talking about, well, just some things we thought that for country music artists would be basics when it came to YouTube video. And on this conference call were people from one of the big satellite radio channels, from a big agency out in California, the YouTube people, me, and they were asking me some questions because I do YouTube research. And I laughed and I said, you would think at this point everybody who uploaded a video to YouTube trying to build a presence would know, well, how to title it. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see it's No BS social media. It's the title of the post. It's our episode number. It's all those details. In addition to, we have a big explanation of what the episode is, and then there are also the tags that you can no longer see, but that I put on there so people can find them. And as I said, you'd think that people would understand how to do this, a decade into YouTube. But they still can't, because every week in my research for these folks, I come up with videos that don't have titles, which have nothing to do with anything that's on the screen. And well, sometimes you're trying to get people to click on things, hoping that they'll mistake something. But if you're really looking to build, and I'm not just talking YouTube, your brand with YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, or Vine or Snapchat, you need to master the basics. And I've said this before, and I've said it in different ways, but I want you to stop and think these things. Before you start getting fancy, before you start using all the bells and whistles that come with each thing, like on Facebook, where you can pre-schedule posts, okay? Sure, you can use tools like Hootsuite or Buffer or those kind of tools that I use in what I do every day, but at the same time, you can also schedule some things in advance on Facebook pages. Well, before you start worrying about that, don't you need to necessarily worry about, well, how you write your post and how you post your pictures and the size you post your pictures and all the things. And it shouldn't be this complicated, but it is. Because at the end of the day, Facebook is trying to squash Twitter, and Twitter is trying to squash Facebook, and well, YouTube's trying to squash them all. But wait a minute, Facebook's going after YouTube, and every social media channel wants to be the only one you use. Remember what happened with MySpace. MySpace tried to be everything to everybody, ended up imploding, and then they decided to go in a different direction and go after, well, music. And now I don't know if an artist does anything on MySpace. Well, Facebook's trying to be everything to everybody. Facebook's trying to be the only website you ever need. Kind of think AOL or even Prodigy. Boy, that's going back maybe before your time even, back in the day, where it's the place you go and you live on the internet through that app, through that channel. Well, but if you've mastered the basics of how each site works, you'll understand that. You'll understand the nuances. You'll understand the things. And I know it takes a little time, and I know it takes a little effort. But again, it's one thing if you're just doing this as a hobby and you don't know any better. It's understanding the hashtag methodology on Instagram and on Twitter. And while they're the same, they're not. You know, I see all the time when people are talking about their Instagram when their Instagram channel or feed, I guess you'd call it, on Twitter, they'll use the @ sign. Because on Instagram you can use the @ sign to mean Instagram, but on Twitter when you use the @ sign you mean another Twitter account. So it's not necessarily when you do an @ on Twitter going to take you to Instagram. They're owned by separate companies. Twitter doesn't want you going to Instagram. They play nicely because they have to, but they don't want you going there. They want you to stay on Twitter. So you have to understand the basics with each and every site. You know, you can share photos from Instagram to Twitter, and you can do it right there through the Instagram app. But have you ever noticed when you do that, it actually just shares a link to the Instagram post, and it doesn't post the picture on your Twitter? You have to share them separately. Again, because Instagram is now owned by Facebook. So what I'm talking about today is I know it takes a little time and I know it takes a little effort, and sure, you want to just dig in and get going and grow, but you need to master the basics. You need to stop and think what you're doing, especially if you're doing this to benefit your career, your personal brand, your profession, whatever it is. I know it's simple. I know we shouldn't have to say that. Just food for thought. Next week, another No BS social media chat right here. Yeah, nobssocial.com. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on a couple of places on Facebook. And we've even got links on all of our Twitter accounts too. So hope you'll stop by for another No BS social media chat. Think about the basics. Master them. Understand it. You'll be much happier and look much more professional. Thanks.